Welcome to that loving voice. Welcome to that loving voice. Welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you. As you know, my name is Tegan. I'm the founder of That Loving Voice. We're going to continue with our series here on Chaturangha, and I think many of you know this will be the last teaser for this particular series. Moving forward from now on, you'll be able to find this, I should say, like the library curriculum that I'm developing will be on my website, which is what I'm going to spend the next 2 months or so developing. So that, as you know, will look at the sun salutation. It will look at basic backbending, and then it will dive into Chaturanga in greater depth, in greater detail, giving you the core and foundational concepts of a healthy yoga practice so that you can continue to practice safely with longevity for years to come. That's the idea. So thank you for subscribing, and thank you for sharing this with a trusted friend. We are going to need for today's class a block, as you know, which I'm sitting on. We'll need your strap. You will need 2 blankets, a sweater, a pair of socks, and if possible, like a face cloth for your eyes to cover the eyes in Shavasana at the end. So today, in the real world time, for those of you who are watching this in the future, this may not be the case, but today is Good Friday, 2020. So today we're going to just give honor to that. Today is the day that Christ died on the cross. So that's something to ponder for sure. So when we're ready, we can recline down. I invite you to come down onto your back. And we'll just take the next 7 minutes or so meditating. Now it's up to you if you want to let the arms relax down by your side, or we can continue with this sort of theme of drawing the shoulder blades together. You can let the arms relax here down by the side. The chest is open. The knees are bent. The feet placed under the knees. Of course, you can relax a little bit more here if you so desire. We are in constructive rest. Once you've found that, I invite you just to stay down, to rest, and let the bones begin to settle. I invite you to catch the breath. And to exhale profoundly. Let the forehead soften, the eyes are soft. And we come back to this concept of the breath as being continuous. We take note of the full length of each part of the breath. Today you might notice that the pause at the peak of the inhale is much smaller Then, for example, the pause at the end of the exhale. We notice the shape change of the body as the breath draws in and out, the belly rises. The belly softens down. And finds stillness in the pause. Keeping the mind fixed on the breath at all times. Noticing the breath during every moment from start to finish of each part of the breath. And anchoring that breath as a continuous cycle. The face is soft, the tongue, the jaw is soft. The tongue softens down in the back of the throat. As this breath nourishes and comforts us. Noticing the breath when we are present with it, when we allow the breath to be calm, smooth. The breath breathing us brings great comfort and peace. And so the mantra that we can apply today is that related to the comfort and the peace that Christ can offer us through his death and resurrection. Now, if you believe, that's okay. If you don't believe, that's okay too. Perhaps you're Jewish or from another religion. That's okay. If you wish to pass over, pardon the pun, these teachings, you're welcome to do that. But for the sake of the holiday and my faith, today we will look at this in John 14, lines 27 to 28. Jesus says, before he goes to the cross, he says, I'm leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart, and the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid. Remember what I told you. I am going away, but I will come back to you again. Jesus, knowing he was headed to the cross, knowing he was headed to his death, was speaking comfort into the words of his, or into the hearts of his disciples. I am going away, but I will come back to you again. Knowing that they would see the devastating loss of his murder, yet he knew that he would be resurrected, that the cross was just something he had to face, a moment of excruciating suffering that was temporary, giving way to a resurrection, a new life, a rebirth in his being that brought him back to Yahweh, the great God, where he then would be seated forevermore, clothed in righteousness, mediating for you and I. That temporary suffering giving way to a rebirth for each and every one of us. Believing in Christ's resurrection gives birth to our own spirits. And we too can find a rebirth in God. The resurrection power in Christ on the cross made full also for us in our contrite and broken spirits. So as we move about our class today, we can just meditate on that concept at the depth you're comfortable with. Of course, as you know, these teachings, these mantras are optional. For those of you who wish to engage in this teaching, our mantra today is, I will not be troubled or afraid. I will not be troubled or afraid. I will not be troubled or afraid. Christ says, remember what I told you, I am going away, but I will come back to you again. So don't be troubled or afraid. Now we can begin to wiggle the fingers, we can begin to wiggle the toes. We can start to rotate through the wrists. We can start here to just rock through the hips. And then when you're ready, I invite you just to roll to the side. If you're wearing a sweater, you can take that off. And you can gently come up onto all fours. Now here, last class, we looked at our hands, we looked at our wrists. So we're going to just start with a gentle stretch through the wrist. And I invite you to carry that same spirit from our meditation. Now we can open the palm, let the elbow be soft here. I can hyperextend, it's not necessary. I will not be troubled or afraid. Now we can switch hands. If you're facing any struggles, any difficulties, we can just lean into that spirit. We can lean into Christ's resurrection. Now we can open the palm. He already took the punishment, the suffering. He has overcome the world. So we do not need to be troubled or afraid. You can release. Now, if you have questions about that, don't be shy just to ask God. He's alive. He was resurrected. So He'll tell you. He'll answer your questions. Now, same thing as last week. We'll rock from the index finger now through to the rest of the fingers, from the pinky now down to the index, stretching through all the bones, the muscles here of the hand. We can anchor that hand down now, pressing the fingers and lifting up through the arch of the hand. Now switching to the other side. I will not be troubled or afraid. I will not be troubled or afraid. And now we can press down here through the fingers. Now finding that little octopus sucker in the other hand. And here we'll just find our cat-cow. Exhale to round. Inhale to lift the sitting bones. Exhale to round. Inhale to lift. Finding your own rhythm, of course. Remembering this mantra, I will not be troubled or afraid. Now we're going to come back to neutral here. We're going to lengthen this left leg long. Remember your hands as you press those fingers down. We can exhale here to lift the heel. Remember, I'm not lifting, but the toes point straight down. I can balance a glass of water here on the sacrum bone. If I'm comfortable, I can reach the opposite arm forward, or I can keep anchoring down here through both of my hands. Wherever I am, I lift through the core. I lengthen out the tailbone, and I lengthen out the crown of the head. Chin comes towards the throat. I open through the back of the heart, so if I'm sinking, bring your other hand down and open here broad. Exhale, release. We can switch sides. Lengthen out through the heel. We lift up through the heel, lift through the core, lengthen out the crown, out the tailbone. If I'm comfortable, I can lengthen the opposite arm. I keep pressing down through the fingers, lifting through the arches of the palm, taking that pressure off of the wrists. And if I'm sinking here in my shoulders, I can bring both hands down and open broad through the back of the heart. As I lengthen out the heel, I exhale, release. Now I'm going to point the index fingers forward and exhale the sitting bones back. We can find that mantra here as well. I will not be troubled or afraid. Pressing the thigh bones away. Thank you for subscribing and sharing this video. And we look to the hands. We take a step or a jump forward. We inhale, flat back, lengthening out the crown of the head. We exhale, release. Inhale to rise. The heart opens first. Exhaling the hands down to the heart. Inhale, lift. Shoot those sitting bones back. Exhale, down. Keep lifting through the core here. Now we can bend the knees as we exhale, releasing the spine, letting the spine be heavy and long. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, hands come down. Now point those index fingers straight ahead. Take a step or a jump back to your plank. We'll start here on the knees, everybody. Now draw the hips in alignment with the shoulders and lift up through the core. The tailbone is heavy, broad through the back of the heart. Now let the chest float on top of the wrists, so I'm not back here. The chest is literally floating over top of the hands. The elbows stay on top of the wrists. As I squeeze the elbows to my center, I exhale, coming down. Now I can bring my hands under the elbows. Squeezing the scapula together, chin comes towards the throat. Glue the big toes together and lift the chest. Now we'll stay here for a few breaths. I will not be troubled or afraid. Now hands press down, I open and lift. If I want, I can come all the way up. I shoot my hips back, exhaling, downward dog. I will not be troubled or afraid. Press the thigh bones away, open through the pelvic floor, the belly floats through the thighs. Keep those arms in an external rotation. We'll explore all of this later on. Do not be troubled or afraid. I am coming back to you. And we look to the hands, opposite foot steps or jumps forward. Coming up here, now we inhale, flat back, lift through the core, the belly button. Exhale, releasing down, the knees can be bent. Inhale to open the heart, we rise up. Exhale, hands to the heart, tailbone is heavy, even here, the core is zipped, even here. Inhale to rise. Exhale to swan dive. Releasing. Inhale to a flat back. Hands come down. Now, index fingers again. Place forward. My hands are underneath the shoulders. I can step back. Here now again, I'm going to come onto my knees. Now I'm going to challenge you with something very interesting. So we're going to find our plank here. So we just hold this spot. We lift through the belly button. Now we're going to take a block and we're going to place it between the elbows. So I invite you just to sort of scoop that block up. So this is what I look like here. Now, I lengthen again through my half plank, lifting through the belly button, tailbone is heavy. Again, I float my chest forward and I lengthen those elbows back. Now we're only going to come about halfway down. I inhale, rise. We're going to do this 2 more times. Exhale, don't be troubled or afraid. I inhale, lift. Last time. Exhale, now keep those elbows squeezed together. Press the fingers down, don't forget, don't collapse in the wrists. And we inhale, rise. Good job. So now we're gonna come out, we'll replace that block. Now, challenge. You can stay here on the knees or you can come full up in your plank. Apply that same technique of drawing the elbows in as I float my chest forward, scapula drop together as I exhale down. Now here we bring the hands under the elbows. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. The big toes are glued together as well. Chin towards the throat. Do not be troubled or afraid. Remember what I told you, I am going away, but I will come back to you again. Press into the hands, lift all the way up and out of the turtle shell, chin towards the throat. Exhale back, downward facing dog. External rotation of the arms, point the index fingers straight forward. Thigh bones press back. Exhale, foot comes forward, stepping or jumping. Open the pelvic floor back as I inhale, lifting the chin. Exhale, releasing down. Inhale, the heart rises. Exhale, hands come down. Now we're going to take our strap and we're going to place it here behind the back. Draw those scapula together. Tailbone is heavy. Float the chest forward. If you're good here, you know your limitations if you've been following along. For those of you who haven't, this is covered in our basic back bending series, which you can find the link here just up in the corner. Lift through the belly button, lengthen the arms back, draw the scapula towards one another, chin stays towards the throat. Breathe here in a nice full rib cage. You want to be able to still breathe fully in this posture. You'll see my knees are gently bended. Now, if you need, you can come up and take a little break. You can stay here, or you can clasp the hands together, even just releasing the strap altogether. If you're in a more flexible body, you can just stretch here completely through the chest. Switch the cross of your hands. And now we're going to release the hands all together. We'll place our strap just down here. We'll cross the arms and hang. Now just let the back of the neck totally relax. And let the spine round. So you can even bend the knees even more. So it's almost like we're in a child's pose, the way that the spine is rounding here. Now you can change the cross of the arms if you want. And now we're going to roll up.
starting at the base of the pelvis, one vertebrae at a time. Exhaling as we do so. Let each nook and cranny of the spine find that rolling up sensation. Head is heavy even till the very last second. Good. Now we can inhale, rise. Exhale, swan diving forward, lifting through the belly button here, and we exhale, release. Inhale to a flat back. Now hands come down. I take note, my strap is just next to me. Index fingers pointing straight forward. I can step or jump to my plank posture. I can hold my plank here fully. We're going to stay here for about 3 breaths. Lift up through the belly button as if there was a beach ball under the belly. Tailbone is heavy. And we knit the base of the rib cage towards the pubic bone. My arms here are in an external rotation, so I'm not rounding or arching, but I'm tucking the elbows in as if I could just fall back on them in a dolphin pose. Okay, so now we're going to prepare here for our Chaturangha. I float my chest over the hands, keeping the elbows on top of the wrist. I squeeze the elbows in as if I was pinching that clock. I exhale all the way down. Now, I take hold of my strap. This time, I'm going to place my hands behind the back. So here now my elbows are locked into this strap. You can release it if you have a lot of tension so that it's not as hardcore. But here now, I just place my hands under the elbows. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Chin towards the throat. Big toes glued together. I'm going to stay here for a few breaths as I find my mantra. So my knees are lifted, my quads are flexed. I press the big toes down. Shoulder blades draw towards each other. Now I'm going to exhale and release my strap. I can press all the way up and lift. Exhaling back. Do not be anxious, troubled, or afraid. Now I'm going to exhale, the knees come down. I take hold of my blanket. Sorry there for a second, I couldn't remember. And just like we learned previously, we're gonna roll that blanket and let the spine round. Now you should know your variations by now. So here, just letting the spine totally round. My arms are forward, palms are up, elbows are in. We're gonna do an entire series here, looking at the arms in an external rotation, moving forward, but for now, this is where we're at. Just letting the back of the pelvis be broad, and remember, you can have your block under the chest, under the head, as you just let the bones begin to settle into this rather challenging position. And now we roll up one vertebrae at a time once again. We're going to set this aside. If we want, we can use it under the knees, or you can just set it totally aside. We're going to come up onto the knees here. We can bring the toes down or tops of the feet. It's up to you. So wonderful. I love building on our knowledge. All right, so here we want the hips to be on top of the knees, so I don't want to be too far back, but nor do I want to be like way forward. Keep the tailbone heavy, as if the tailbone was falling between like the kneecap and the mollet, the calf. So that way the tailbone is falling like bang center there. We can bring our hands here onto the tops of either the pelvis, the buttocks, or the thighs, as you see fit. And as you know, we draw the scapula together and we bring those elbows together too. Now this might be enough for you as we find that extension here in the chest. And you see my heart is opening and I'm actually back bending in my upper body as I fold into the core and draw in. So I'm not collapsing, right? I engage as I open. If you're confident, you can start to lengthen the arms. Now today, actually, for some reason, I'm very open. I can come all the way down onto my heels here. Some people would consider that cheating and would want you to be on the tops of your feet, but I don't mind so much. Remember to keep the elbows drawn towards each other and continue to draw the abdomen towards the spine to support this back bend. Let that extension happen in the upper back. Chin stays towards the throat. We're going to look at extending through the throat and the chin in another series. Now, I encourage you to recline your way back up as you draw the core in for support here. And we're going to finish with a full out plank. So we can release our blanket. And I encourage you to come into your strap and to use your block here for alignment of the elbows, the hands, the wrists, and the shoulders. So we're going to place our anchor down, lengthen, and remember you have the choice, you can stay on your knees if you want, or you can lift up through the back of the legs, flex the quadriceps to support the lower half of the body. If you're lifted up here, don't cheat. Fight to draw the hips down and knit the rib cage towards the pubic bone. Press down through the elbows, open through the back of the heart. Chin comes in towards the throat. Don't forget to keep flexing the quads. Lengthen out the heel, let the tailbone be heavy as you knit the rib cage towards the pubic bone. And lift up through the abdomen as if there's a big beach ball under the belly. Now, if you want to be hardcore, bring the left foot into center and exhale this leg. We're going to switch sides. Right foot into center, exhale left knee to the right elbow. Now we'll do this 2 or 3 more times. If you're ready to come out anytime. Now we're going to stay here for 3 more breaths. Challenge, come to the knees, place the hands down and walk yourself up. Release your strap, release your block, and now practice your full chaturanga and cobra pose. Drawing forward, lifting up, Elbows in, exhale. Inhale. Lift all the way up and out. Exhale, downward dog. Do not be anxious or afraid. I will not be troubled or afraid. Now I can come down onto my knees. I can come down onto my buttocks. I'm going to finish with a gentle forward fold. So option is yours if you want to stay here up on the knees. Remember, you can put your blanket under the buttocks if you want. We lift the rib cage up and over the belly and relax as so. Now, if you're more confident in your practice, you can come into your long-legged forward bend here. I'm choosing to use my blanket this time. Press the thigh bones down. Internal rotation of the legs. Chin stays in towards the throat. Now let the shoulders relax and fall open to the sides of the torso. We want a nice straight line, or I should say a nice rounded extension or flexion really from the sacrum bone to the crown of the head. So no part of my spine is stressing any particular curve, but it's a nice even curve from the base all the way through the crown, and then there's that inward from the crown of the head towards the throat and the chin, spilling out again forward. It's that almost wave-like circular action from the base of the spine up and out the crown and then in towards the chin. And we can exhale, release. If you want to just get a final little chest stretch, actually, let's come back into our strap. This is going to be the cherry of the practice. Place it again around the elbows. Now here we can either come up onto the fingertips, or if you can, you can place the hands down. Find a long neutral spine, draw the shoulder blades together, chin towards the throat. And here now, just like draw the ear to the shoulder to stretch open through the chest. You can switch sides if you haven't already. And now we can release. We're going to come down onto the back. Rolling. And here we're going to do a final little hip stretch so we can cross the right ankle over the left thigh, pick up that left leg. We can use the elbow on the right thigh here to stretch open further through the right hip. The foot is flexed. And we can switch. Don't forget your mantra. I will not be troubled or afraid.
Do not be troubled or afraid. Now we can exhale, release. Ooh. Now, honestly, the option is yours for Shavasana. If you would like to come into a Supta Baddha Konasana, which is like a butterfly leg, you're welcome to do that. If you have some supports, like for example, if I folded my blanket in a nice little knot, I could give my leg some support here. Or if you have two blocks, you can put the block under the knees, for example. That is so comfortable. So I'll give that to you as a wonderful variation for Shavasana. And of course, you can use your blanket under the head. You can cover your body with the second blanket. I encourage you to put on your sweater, your socks, and just generally pamper yourself as you prepare to let your bones rest. All right, so when you're ready, I encourage you even to turn off the lights. That's what I'm going to do. And let the bones begin to settle. Now I should let you know my practice, my online practice is going to be significantly changing moving forward. It's very likely these will be the last full-length classes I will offer. I will very likely begin to do meditations as well as a shorter postural sequence. And then the Shavasanas very well may be sold separately. But stay tuned and don't be shy to email me your questions, your comments, and your wishes for how you want to see my practice executed on YouTube, on Patreon, and on my library curriculum on thatlovingvoice.com. So your voice is very important and is who I'm doing all of this for. So please email me at thatlovingvoice@gmail.com, and I will be more than happy to consider your opinion. Now we can let the face soften, the eyes are soft, the tongue, the jaw is soft. The bones begin to settle. I will not be troubled or afraid. I'm leaving you with a gift of peace peace of mind and heart. The peace I give as a gift, the world cannot give. If you really love me, you'd be happy that I'm going out to my Father, who is the one Creator of all. I've told you these things, so when they happen, you will believe. You will believe. I'm leaving you with a gift of peace of mind and heart. The peace I give as a gift, the world cannot give. And if you really loved me, you'd be happy that I'm going out to the Father, who is the Creator of all. So don't be troubled and don't be afraid. Remember what I told you. I'm going away, but I will come back to you again. I will come back to you. I'm leaving you with a gift of peace of mind and heart, and the peace I give as a gift, the world cannot give. So don't be troubled and don't be afraid. Remember what I told you. I'm going away, but I will come back to you again. I will come back to you again. For I have overcome the world. Yes, I have told you these things so that when they happen, you will believe. I have told you these things so when they happen, you will believe. You will believe. Amen. 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 I believe Jesus Christ died on the cross and rose again on the third day. May the resurrection power that lives in Jesus be your wellspring. May it be the truth that sets you free. May it be the answer to your prayers. And may Christ exceed all of your expectations because he loves you. He delights in you as his child. The creator of the world has risen from the grave. If you have any prayers that you wish to send to the Father, I invite you to do so now. And when you're ready, you can begin to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. Rock the thighs. And eventually roll to the side using the arm as a pillow. I invite you to take a moment to give thanks for one thing you are grateful for. And when you're ready, you can use the strength of the arms to roll yourself up one vertebrae at a time. And I invite you now to let the spine be long. Thank you so much for participating in this practice. It's an honor to spend this time with you. If you gave your life to Christ for the first time, I'll post a link below to Saddleback Church. Rick Warren is the founding pastor of this church, and they will provide you with the appropriate next steps. Thank you for subscribing, thank you for sharing, and thank you for your patience as you wait for this next series to be brought into fruition. God bless you.